my father and mother had a forced marriage, and he needed money and she needed a husband. My father was a coffee house poet on Delancey Street. He was a cafeteria poet, and the Garden Cafeteria was only one of his places, but he had the idea to have cafeteria delicatessen. And he thought, everybody loves a Frankfurter, and why do you have to have coffee all the time? You can go and have a Frankfurter and have your poetry in a heartier place and not be so ethereal. He wanted to express the Lower East Side quality, not to be above it, but to be with it, as his father was. And so he opened his delicatessen store on Allen Street, and he had the cashier, which was always a pretty girl, and she had a boyfriend who was the waiter, and what do you know, they stole his money bit by bit by bit by bit, and then ran away and left him. Well, he didn't know why he wasn't making a profit. You know, business was pretty good, and yet at the end of the month, he just didn't have enough money to pay his bills. But then when they found out that, somebody came to find out why. Some bookkeeper came, to find out why he wasn't making his expenses. And then they realized, then the people took off because he was examining the books. So he was in bankruptcy unless he got married right away. My mother had to get married right away because her younger sister was waiting 4 years for her to marry. And then the youngest eloped. And so that made it more urgent because the younger sister didn't want to wait anymore. An older sister has to marry first or she's declared an old maid. It was just politeness. So her father went to the synagogue to find out if there was anybody, somebody who would make up a marriage for him, and that's how they married. So once my father lost his business and he couldn't save it, she was supposed to put in the money for him to revive his business, but it was too late, and it did fail. So he thought, well, why do I have to marry her now? I lost anyway. I don't need the money anymore. And her family sued him for breach of promise, and he was put in jail. And his father, who was a shamus, who was a batran, so he was the sexton, the shakman, and the bard, the batran, and he was a very honored man. So he went to my father, who was in jail, and he said, you are not going to disgrace this family. You are going to marry that woman. So that's how they married.